where he said, and there's one stakeholder group that HR has really missed on addressing, and that's the investors. The shift in intangible value, the difference between market value and earnings having dropped, and that's already in 2007, to nowadays, sometimes below 30, even below 20% points, right? Yeah. So there is no reliability anymore when it comes to predicting anything from a share price or from a stock market perspective. So the intangibles have overtaken the tangible information when assessing companies by far. Most companies don't have anything but human capital, okay? Yeah. Hence, they have no idea on how to measure this. And the common theme that I got back is you guys in HR need to define and agree on what you are talking about, starting with very, very simple things.
You people working in HR need to get your act together. You need to speak a common language, define your terms, and stake your claim to your professional territory. Again, I think it's sort of like that expression where you have the frog in the boiling water. If you do it quickly, they notice it, but if you do it slowly, they just sit there. And this didn't happen overnight. This is over a period of 40 or 50 years that slowly, the intangible assets have been the wealth creation, the value add to the majority of organizations.
We didn't produce these guidelines so that they are being filed somewhere in the internet. So we are just intrinsically motivated to implement these guidelines. If you share your contacts and what you're doing with these other people that we have contact with, isn't that kind of hurting your business model? And Jeff was laughing at me and he said, well, he didn't say that, but he meant like young man from Germany, right? A rising tide lifts all boats, okay? Yeah. And that is not the consulting industry. This is the human capital markets, okay? So the tide for the human capital markets is increasing with a global network of experts, and that's the purpose that we're trying to accomplish. There are companies who are starting to get certified, and there are more to follow. Most appealing to me sounds the discussions with the governments, because if you want to position your labor market appropriately to succeed in the war of talent, you need to demonstrate the power of your employment system, okay? And that is easily benchmarkable with applying ISO 30414.
Because of my background, they came and talked to me and said, we're doing this other project of standardizing our IT system, and we need to bring together all these agencies. And the person said to me, they all use different measurements. And I was like, yeah, they do. And it was like, how do we fix that? And I'll be honest with you, Hilger, at the time, and this is 3-4 years ago, I said, you need to learn about this ISO standards project. IFRS moment, GAP moment, without those agencies or entities happened, in the 1500s in Italy when they discovered double bookkeeping entry, right? It's like, here's the external and internal reporting and the value to everyone, all the stakeholders in expanding it instead of just keeping track of these numbers. And I think HR human capital, we're at that tipping point right now with all these stakeholders aligned to benefit from exactly what you're describing.
We are in the midst of a crisis because the stock market doesn't know what it's evaluating, right? Yeah. So the stock market is taking bets on intangibles, okay, without really knowing what is the substance of it. As an HR professional, I would say there is a crisis of missing on the upside potential.
Yeah.
So if we were able to benchmark the human capital with their respective global peers, then we would get a boost of precision in the assessment of companies that this world hasn't seen before. So the nuggets of the value of human capital benchmarking has not really been appreciated by relevant market participants. And we have to cross that bridge, We have to get people to understand and then start working with that information in their own evaluation models. The definitions that 3414 has prepared, that's kind of the pavement, okay? That's the pavement. And now each equity research analyst, each asset manager, each rating agent, each credit risk officer of a firm, of a bank, right, has to take that information into their models and then looking what the strategic context is in the company situation.
But as you allude to, there's a lot of status quo that doesn't want to change. There's a lot of businesses that benefit from what I will call the current bureaucracy, the role that the railroads played in industrializing different parts of the world. We're doing that with intangible capital right now. What does the near future hold?
Referring to the ESG movement right now. By the way, this topic is much more about the G than the S. Most people associate human capital and human resources with the S. There's certainly some S in there, but the key thing is the G. The familiarity of the markets will increase significantly. And that is done by more and more companies getting certified according to ISO30414. And these companies are making noise about it. They tell their investments, their investors, their key stakeholders, and make sure that people understand, wow, why do these companies like Deutsche Bank, like DWS, the asset manager, both global players, okay? We want that the stakeholders appreciate the great work we do with our people. So there's a lot of upside potential to get a grip on the benefits for large corps. Now, you will probably ask me, what is in 24 months a small cap? Like take a printing company with 80 people. Now, why would they do that? Well, they want to buy a new 6-color printing machine. That machine costs them $1 million something. Well, US dollars, euro don't matter. Now they go to the bank, and the banking clerk in 2 years' time, the credit officer, they would say, well, what's your ISO level? What's your ISO 3414? Whatever that thing is called, you know, it will probably have an own brand by then. And then they will key in the information, and then they will benchmark that printing company within a local, a regional, maybe a Germany-wide benchmark. And then they will come up with the cost of the credit. And if this printing company does a good job with their people, high morale, good pipeline for succession, good training capability, no accidents or little accidents, whatever, and everything makes sense to the strategic situation of that company, well, that credit officer will probably give them a big relief on the interest rate. And we're talking big numbers that this printing company can reinvest in whatever, probably in human capital. Because many people say you only cater to the large corps who are on the stock market. No, it isn't. You know, we cater to the master student leaving the university in Dubai. Okay, we want that person, that woman or that man, to do a little research and get a grip on, okay, where are companies with a nice and transparent compliance with ISO. But you can't tell me anything about this ISO thing. Well, I kind of have a go at somebody else who are not putting up a good show, but they can tell me how they deal with their people.
And I got to thinking what you're saying about maybe in the future, we have some equivalency that's like a net promoter score for human capital. For a decade, I think we've had this group of people who get it very quickly, but we're trying now to expand that ecosystem, to expand the message and the vision that you're sharing now. And
why do we have an ESG movement? Okay, the world is changing significantly, and we have to provide metrics and guidance on how to save this planet. The human capital reporting piece is contributing to some extent to give this moment or this movement some predictability on assessing the future development, okay? Because it's not about money. It's not about earnings. It is about what are you doing to make sure that your company will be there in 20 years from now or 30 years from now, and what are you doing that your employees or your shareholders and the society is going to be there, right? The future of companies or of the society are children, are students at universities. Not only not only university students are the future, but especially those who are dealing with this topic, right? They are not joining employers anymore because these employers are squeezing out the last profit out of their business to make money and work 7/24, so that the first 10 working years you never see the daylight. These days are over, okay? Globally mobile, bright people, they look for meaning, and the 3414 in its true and good sense is helping to provide globally mobile talent, if we just focus on that key stakeholder group, with the tools to develop meaning.
And I don't think a lot of stakeholders appreciate the fluid nature of that talent. And this is one of the ways to identify that trend.
Or transferring some of the excitement about the future, not only of this planet, but especially of our function in HR, but also as a investment participant in the marketplace. I strongly believe in this vision. When I retire, when I kind of leave this world, I want to make sure that this vision is alive.